Hi everyone, Andrea here from Crafts on the Move, bringing you this cute cocoa card, which is perfect for the holidays and showcases the adorable Santa mug. Isn't he adorable? I just love it. The card kit features the Cocoa Wonderland die set from Spellbinders, which is this die set right here. So this die set is included in your kit. Other products used to create the card kit include the Spellbinders Notched Corner Frames die set, the Merry Messages BetterPress plate, a glimmer machine, gold glimmer foil, and the white opaque watercolor. During the tutorial, I'm going to review the card kit content, share the supplies and tools required to assemble the cards, and assemble the card so that you can craft along. Let's dig into the kit and start crafting. Your card kit includes the written instructions, a die cutting guide, and a colored picture of the sample along with the YouTube tutorial that you're watching. The kit also includes a little bag of pre-cut and foiled sentiments, which say Merry and Bright, Joyful Noel, Season's Greetings, Warm Winter Wishes, and Merry Christmas. So you can pick and choose which ones that you want to use on your cards. As I mentioned earlier, you also will receive the Cocoa Wonderland die set as part of your kit. 2 A2 cellophane bags. One of them is not labeled. That one includes your 3 mint notched panels, 3 A2 tutu panels, 3 A2 top fold 110-pound card bases, and 3 A2 envelopes. The second A2 size cellophane bag labeled paper for die cutting is your cardstock and foam that you will use to make your die cuts. That bag includes a 1/4 A2 panel of saffron, truffle, raven, and silver mirror. It also includes a 1/2 A2 panel of dahlia, waterfall, teal topaz, and then it includes a full A2 panel of poppy, peridot, chiffon, teal topaz, tutu, 3 A2 panels of white, and an A2 panel of the white glittered foam for the whipped cream topping on Santa's mug. The tools and supplies you will need to make this card include a splatter box or something to splatter your white opaque watercolor. And then I will also be using some 1/8 inch double-sided foam strips. I have a clear block for my watercolor, and that watercolor I will be using is the Spellbinders Splatter White Opaque Watercolor. I'll also be using a number 2 or number 4 round paintbrush. I'll use my jewel picker. I use my die release tool when I'm die cutting so I can pop the paper from the die. You'll want some scissors, your paper trimmer, wet and dry adhesive, and a little bit of water for your watercolor. I am also going to be using my big roll of foam tape because I'm going to be adding double-sided foam behind this whole notch panel, and I find this is the best tape to use. One tool I forgot to mention that you might want are your tweezers. I use my tweezers and the jewel picker interchangeably. It depends on what I'm doing. The first thing I'm going to do is start assembling some of the layers together. I will start with the tree. So I'm going to glue the trunk behind the tree, and then I will add the star to the top of the tree. Next, I'm going to add the stripes to the ornament. Next, I adhere the silver detail piece behind the ornament. That's the part that is the hanger for the ornament. And then I will move on to adding the top layer of the top of Santa's hat, like hat face area. It's the peridot gets added to the top of the tutu piece, and this piece, this layer, that it does fit on. You'll see some embossed lines on that tutu piece, so make sure you have that glued in the right direction. On to adding some of the detail features to the Santa face. I add the long oval black piece behind the chiffon black face, and that gives you the black for his eyes. And then I will add the black little somewhat circle piece behind the mouth, so that gives his black mouth. And that piece goes on the white face part of the Santa mug. Next, we're on to adding some of the details to Santa's face. That's the little chiffon die cut piece. I add both the eyebrows, and there are indentations on the face where those eyebrows line up. And then I add the cheeks, and I accidentally initially put the wrong color cheeks on his face. I could have left it. I put tutu, and I wanted to have dahlia. It doesn't matter either or, but the cheeks and the eyebrows are on the same die cut piece. It's time to assemble the bow and the present, and I add a little bit of adhesive to the ribbon part of the bow, and then added the piece that has loops on top of the bow. The next is adding the dahlia piece to the top of the present, and finally adding that prepared layered bow to the present. Santa's face is coming along. You're going to next add the white mustache, and then add the oval red nose to the top of the mustache once you attach the mustache to his face. I added dimensional foam behind the face and the mustache, and then place him on your white mug die cut, and you'll see some embossing lines where you need to line up his mustache and his face. Next, we will add that peridot and tutu detailed strip to the very top part of the mug, and I added a little bit of foam tape behind the ends, the left and the right, and then adhesive or glue to the center part that will stick to his forehead. At this point, we're going to add the baubles or ornament details to both the trees. I add one small bauble to the top of the small peridot tree. And then for the teal topaz, I used the sample as my template of where to put the ornaments. And at some point when I was adding the ornaments, I realized my cheeks for my Santa had gotten swapped out. And so you'll see where I had to make some adjustments for that on both the Santa and the tree. At this point, I'm going to add the teal topaz handle to the back of the mug, and you're going to see on the handle there are two lines that will help you with the placement of where that handle needs to line up with the mug. And I just put a little glue in those areas on that handle and then attached it to the mug. This is where I switch out the tutu cheeks for the dahlia cheeks, and I left this in so you can see how I fixed it. I just carefully scraped the old ones off and cut new ones and glued them back in place. Here I add the foam strips behind that notched die cut, and then I will remove the backing for this and place it centered on that 22A2 card panel. Here I'm adding the notched panel centered on the 22A2 card panel, and then next I will be adding the mug and accessories. I'm going to use my sentiment as a temporary placement guide to help me align the Santa mug. And then I added 3D foam tape behind that whole entire mug, including the handle. Once that's ready, I will then add it to the card panel. Once your mug is on and you're satisfied with the placement, you can add the glitter foamed whipped topping. I used liquid adhesive on this, and then you're going to slightly tuck the bottom of that foam topping under the lip of the top of the mug. It's time to add all those fun accessories that you made earlier. And I use the sample as my guide. You can switch it up. I also did place a very small piece of double-sided foam adhesive behind the star on the tree, on the larger tree that is, and then a little small piece of foam adhesive behind the smaller tree under like the first branch, if you will, of that tree. The next step is setting up your area for the splatter. I have my splatter box and I have my clear block, a little cup of water, and paintbrush with the white opaque watercolor from Spellbinders. I'm going to thin down that paint just a little bit on my block, and then I'll splatter on the card panel. Once I'm happy with the splatter on my card panel, I set the card panel aside to dry, and then I will finish the card off. The card panel is dry from the white splatter, and now I'm going to add the sentiment. I did add a little strip of the 1/8 inch double-sided foam behind the sentiment to give that some dimension as well. And I'm just going to center that towards the bottom of the card panel. Once I'm happy with that, I will add the entire decorated card panel to the card base. To finish up the card, I will add the decorated card panel to the card base, ensuring that the fold is up at the top so that the card is not accidentally put on upside down. How adorable are these cards? Thank you so much for supporting Crafts on the Move, and until next time, happy crafting!